going to record. Yes, we are live, or whatever this is. It's been almost a year, I think maybe a little over a year since we talked. This is the second edition of the Black Occult versus White Filth, whatever you want to call it. I always say the same thing. Yeah, it's Francesco. He is back, not by popular demand, but by demand. Not by popular demand. Last time we just got fresh off Italy, the trip. We just got to know each other. Now we are a year further. I don't think it's bad that it's been a year. I don't know. We talked, but we.
It's great, man. I was thinking about it the other day when you proposed finally after dangling it in front of me for like a whole year.
Yeah.
No, I was thinking about it the other time, and I was like, it's been a year, and I think we've changed a lot in this year artistically. So I think it's going to be super interesting because as much as you probably delved a lot deeper into the art of it, I completely opened up my horizons on other aspects.
Yeah. That will, I guess, that will show in the in the way we are going to talk about music, because it's not going to be pure black metal, I guess. Yeah, let's do the obligatory. How have you been? How has the label been? Because we talked about Black Occult in the first video, more as a cursory to what is a label, who is Black Occult, and what are the artists. But where's the label now? Because you talked about. I don't want to make this an interview, but it always starts off like this. You talked about going into different territories. You have made a conscious decision not to do black metal, but to do more the noisier kind of things, the power electronics, that kind of thing with the rave cases. So yeah, what happened? I know it was, before I let you go, I know it was talked about in the previous interview or the previous talk we did, that you were, kind of tired of it, and then that the label would be a power electronics label in the end. So I guess we're there now.
We are. I mean, I think I've been handling the switch in my own way. So that was always me. But it's definitely now starting to be considered and seen as more power electronics label, noise label. Last talk, that was in my initial steps of it. I definitely wanted to switch it, and this year sense in terms of finding new artists and talking with new people, diving directly into the deep end of the power electronics scene. And I think back then I just had maybe Ludwigism. I'm not even sure if Aircraft had released yet, probably. It was my first absolutely unbearable noise release in the best sort of way. And I start to really, in someone's subconscious or immediate recognition of the label, to not see it anymore as a black metal label, to not even see it as a hype, which was a necessary step. If you switch from one thing to the other, there's going to be a period of doubt, of you have to specialize yourself a bit more, you have to recreate your image. So that was an amazing period. Took a lot of inspiration from this label called Dunkelheit, which was a black metal label before, and now is shows, noise shows, power electronics shows, has an amazing catalog of artists, and one which we'll definitely be talking about because I'm doing a split with him as well. And I think it's been super motivating. The label has been, after a period of time where I didn't lose motivation, but it was trudging through, maybe some not in the best of situations. Now I feel fully complete.
Okay. Do you feel the change already happened when you changed from the old logo to the, we're talking about the safety pin again, but did you feel that it changed there? Because it seems like the identity art, because we have one question by our Irish, we had one question, so let's do it. It's now, we're here. Question for Franny: is the package, rave, tape, jewel case, vinyl artwork essential with every release, and does it go hand in hand? I thought it was a weird question, but I think he means is every artwork different for each format, or is it all the same? But I don't know. I don't understand the question.
As uniform as possible. That's a very conscious decision. It's
Yeah.
I used to give full creative liberty to my artists, to the ones I had back then. Layouts, they choose colors, and this is by no means critique to them. It did not feel honest from myself anymore. I didn't want there's like some art, some covers that might have not been in touch with what I wanted to put out there. So as much as I give a healthy amount of freedom to the artist when he wants to choose something, it's a very conscious decision that my artwork has to reflect a certain type of atmosphere, a certain type of feel. So yeah, it's conscious. My artwork has now become, because I think it's important as an immediate gut reaction to have a very recognizable style, a very recognizable aura, let's say, as a young man saying, arts fashionable to aura. And since you bring it on the pin is the biggest trampoline that I've had, because from various other people, they say that logo is very recognizable, it's very impactful. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna build on that. I'm gonna give people what they want, but not to dilute myself, but it's going to be pinpointing on the imagery of power electronics. And I think it fits, and I think I'm taking it step by step in the right direction for what.
I think if you look at the artwork, it has some of the releases, especially your Rave Case, has this Italo horror disco, but maybe in an ASKE way. And there is there is some good artwork. Are you doing all the artwork for all the releases?
Oh no, absolutely not. I have someone that does it. If you want, for example, this release, if you want sorry about the reflection, but if you want the clear example of what the vibe for the label going forward for the foreseeable future, it's this type of imagery, very noise aesthetic, very power electronics aesthetic. And this was the Black Occult manifesto, which had Ludwigism, modernity, and Earthcraft. And I talked about the pin being the first trampoline, but this release is probably the one that I'm most proud of because it's one that not only visually brought the label to what it is today, but sonically and musically. Well, if you can call it music, that's a whole other thing. But the artwork I wanted to put forward, the art style and the sensibilities are all encapsulated in that release.
Yeah. It's cool to see Ludwigism Urkraft on that tape, on that manifesto, because I rewatched our last talk, and they were the budgeting artists on the new label, quote unquote, on everything. But it seems that, because we talked about they were going to make a choice in what direction they would go out, and it seems that they're still not pure power electronics, but they went a more noisier, abstract way, and it fits in the label. Also, the case that you've shown is the perfect example of how futurism links in with the pin back into the label and the artwork. So yeah, it's cool.
In the past episode, it's always been a massive influence for me, and I can so many of these covers, like the last release from 1-800 Babylon, which is my own project. It will always have this aesthetic, and yeah, I think it's important. I think it shouldn't be seen as a superficial choice. I think it's important to communicate something.
Yeah, true. But it's nice that the drop, when you communicate the drops, they fit. The artwork fits. It kind of is in the same mold, each drop. So I like that. Maybe that's what you mean. I'm not sure.
Yeah, everything is very, very important.
Yeah, it looks cool. I kind of neglected buying just because I'm not deep into power electronics. Not deep at all.
You're a fake fan, White Filth.
Yes, very, very. But we established that in the first video, so nothing changed in that way. No, I bought a few Rave. I think I have the first 3 staring at me over there. Yeah. But I was rearranging my tapes because I bought some tape storage for that wall, and I couldn't even find my slave chandelier, and that's basically power electronics I have, but Terran Snow, stuff like that. Yeah. But maybe we can work our way back because that is in the list. So releases, yeah, you had a few, I think 6 since then, maybe 2 drops, or maybe
2023 went really like I released a lot of stuff in 2023. A lot of put it in proportion of a self-made one-person label who
Yeah.
doesn't actually sometimes want to put the work in. I haven't changed that. Well, I'm always the same lazy person behind it, but I've been caught. And plus, rave cases, yeah, they're nice. It's a nice object, but investment. When you start talking about rave cases and you invest as much as in vinyl, you have to take certain choices and stuff. So
Yeah, it's true.
I've released 3 of my own projects. So 1-800 Babylon. I've released, well, as you saw, the Martial Terror Manifesto. And I released one which is extremely interesting also to your sensibilities because you mentioned ASKE. For example, this one, which is another Ludwigism and modernity split, which is absolutely the first one that's actually going to have a different color from black and white.
But this is not out yet, right?
This is out. It's been out for a while.
Okay.
And
Okay.
It's talking about ASKE, which we're probably going to talk about after anyway. Ludwigism has now moved into something that can be very organic with what ASKE is also releasing. This new type of Gabber, rave, underground music. Ludwigism made a very conscious choice to move into that direction. And I think it's absolutely fascinating. And the big reveal of this year was Modernity. Modernity was an absolute success of a release for me.
Mm-hmm.
The neo-folk Cherished Simulacra release was absolutely amazing, absolutely hit. And the track on this split is just a journey. If anyone can listen to it on YouTube or when you get it, you let me know. It's a journey of everything that I love in this new type of music. It legitimately goes from noise to power electronics to a folkish, ambient, very sensitive moment, to a complete decentralization of sound at the end, into just pure experimental music. And I think that release flew under the radar because it went. I'm not gonna complain, but it went in 5 minutes. That release went in 5 minutes. And it was the first step of when I started upping production. Which, I mean, thank God people followed through with that. But amazing release. I mean, Ludwigism has been with the label since the beginning, and he's evolved with the label as well. And I think that there's a scene which is just absolutely wild, and which rekindled my love for a lot of the UKBM underground, which was completely it was devastating. But ASKE and Hotchin Pit and these types of releases, which mix a bit of everything, whether it's the black metal sensibilities that you probably absolutely love, like Odious Hiss and Hollow's Tower, to the more wider range of experimental with Scum, with Evil Colony, with all that stuff. I think it's super motivating. It brought a lot of motivation back to what I actually like doing.
We actually got 2 questions. One was from Ash, speaking about Hotchin Pit and speaking about Gabber. He asked us, what's your favorite Gabber release?
Oh my God, man.
Mine is...
Go ahead.
Mine is obviously Neophyte because of the logo. But I was called out, is that the way to put it, by a guy. Last video I uploaded, there was a guy who started with, I hate to be this guy, and then gave me a history lesson in Gabber, and then assumed I stole the logo from Neophyte, which I did. Let's not get it wrong. Which I totally did.
Good shout, though. That's amazing music. I'd say Rotterdam Terror Corps and all that movement from back then. That's anything.
I think the entire Thunderdome,
right?
The entire Thunderdome with Wax Weasel and with I think even stuff in Belgium that is insane. Do you know Bonsai?
Oh, actually, I don't know.
That's maybe the best track.
All I know is that the Belgian scene, the Holland, and all those places, they just live off of that. It's absolutely wild what they managed to put out. This was ages ago. Like, I'm not up to date with current Gabber, so I'll be into the underground stuff. So exactly what they're putting out and what Ludwigism is putting out, but I'm not going to be following up with the actual main scene because then I'm going to tell you Anger Fist, and people think that's like the Britney Spears of hardcore. So I love that.
Oops. Yeah. Yeah. So Gabber, I think the old everything under the Thunderdome umbrella is definitely worth checking out. But I guess that's the only Gabber I know from back then. I don't know if I I guess that was the underground. There is no other stuff going on back then. But it's like you say, the Gabber stuff now.
They were full. I don't know if that would you consider that underground at the time?
Sorry, we talked over each other. What do you mean, Thunderdome?
Yeah, would you consider that underground for the time?
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Was it if you think back on how it started, it's just basically like the story always goes. It's just dance music ramped up to a higher degree when the new drugs introduced into Europe, ecstasy, and they just were at the culmination of ecstasy, and Gabber just gave it a rise, an incredible rise. I think the Thunderdome franchise alone is worth, I don't know if it's worth billions, but it's worth a lot of money because people are still buying shirts and are still, the secondhand market for that shit is insane. It's as expensive as black metal records.
Discogs type of thing, where people flipping albums and singles and stuff like that.
Yeah, true.
Because I mean, look at the importance of a logo. That's immediately recognizable. The Terror Dome, the Rotterdam Terror Corps, the Thunderdome, and all that stuff, immediately recognizable. I'm gonna start wearing hot.
At the time, it was definitely underground. I'll stand on that because who knew about it? It was a big rise. It started underground as in maybe local parties, but the rise was incredible. But also, it was just the climate was right, and the atmosphere in Europe at the time with stuff like Love Parade, which entire Berlin was one big rave party actually. So yeah, I think that in Belgium it exploded because we had discotheque or dancings like Outline and Gehalte and Sherry Moon, where not necessarily Gabber was being played, but yeah, more that trance. I don't think deep house was a thing back then, but just house music, I guess.
Deep house,
that was
deep house, like when it was really fashionable. I'm pretty sure deep house as well has its old underground roots, but at some point there was that period of time around 2010 to 2014, 15 maybe. Every single commercial disco here, it basically deep, 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 deep. It just, you know what they say, and when it becomes fast fashion, it's just not exciting anymore. You have little underground, then it will trickle down bit by bit through experience into Zara, and that's the death of it. And I feel music kind of sometimes has those arcs. Except music itself, it will return and come back depending on grassroots movement.
I think Gabber will always be too abrasive to be. You don't see it in commercials or anything. Deep house and trance and stuff like that will show up in commercials just because it has it's like black metal. It's the positive side of black or of the positive side of house music, I guess. And Gabber is it's perceived as negative.
Let's admit it. Deep house is easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
An easy melody. It's hypnotic. You're basically. I don't even think it's particularly music that you pay attention to. It's
elevator music.
I was just about to say it's fashionable elevator music. That's the thing. It's because I mean they did try and bring a little bit of Gabber to the mainstream. With that whole hardstyle movement.
Yeah.
Gym bros and all that type of stuff. And I'm super mega guilty. My playlist for the gym absolutely disqualifies any kind of music taste I could have. Like you look at my playlist.
I think it's worse with hardstyle because that started really underground in my opinion, because there is, like with everything, very good hardstyle, very aggressive, but you have because it's Dutch, not Belgian, because it's Dutch, you have that lol 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 version, and that's the dead of everything.
A can hardstyle song in my list. Can you imagine that? A can song with extreme bass and hardstyle. I was like, yeah, maybe I'm gonna start switching up, maybe go to something old. And then you got pop covers in hardstyle. I'm like, all right, I see where we're getting at, But okay. It's because blame it on the Dutch.
A year ago, we attacked US black metal. Now we're attacking deep house. Let's get back on track. Okay, so
Deep house is music for girls who think they're edgy, but they have curfews. That's my umbrella for deep house. And
all right.
if some deep house fan comes after me, that's just like not credible. You know, what kind of threat do you feel?
It could be the least worst or the worst. I don't know. There's no middle ground. But
I don't understand the drum rolls and the synth work. It's like, come on. I make noise. You know how bad that is?
That's true. It's true. Not to talk about the label the entire time, but you have a few plans in the works. I think a lot of people or people who are into this know. There's a YouTube channel that will be firing soon. The first talk is with Dark Tapes and Wax and Maidenhair of England. So a trio conversation. That should prove good. No, the lineup is okay.
You have to tell me how to moderate those type of things, because what I wanted to do for my first episode is get two pretty abrasive figures in the scene, because mind you, Maidenhair of England is in the dungeon synth ambient genre, but he's pretty vitriolic in his way of communicating his art and in discussions. And for the people who are in our smaller, non-important circles, they know Dark Tapes and Wax as well as someone who stands his ground on pretty out there opinions. But I have mad respect because he's a younger generation than us, but he's so passionate about what he likes and this sounds everyone's like, oh, I'm passionate too. No, but he really takes the banner of it and defends it, even if he's 1 against 50 on an opinion. And I just think those two mesh really well. And I think that if I can manage to moderate that correctly, I feel a lot of people would be interested to hear the discussion, because it's obviously not gonna. People have a certain expectation of what I'm going to talk about, and I am going to feed it to them to some extent. But I think it's very interesting because we will be going into a lot of the surrounding aspects that maybe people don't particularly think about in music, and having an artist and a provocateur like Dark Tapes and Wax, I think very interesting. I mean, provocateur, we're going to be 2 provocateurs on that part.
I was going to ask, are you the moderator?
I was saying that phrase. I'm like, that's not going to be credible, man. No one's going to believe you in that.
But yeah.
I've taken all these points, and we're going to build on it from all the experiences I've had this year, concerts I've seen, bands I've seen, ideologies I've seen in certain concerts, in certain countries. Nice big fire.
I like the Dark Tapes and Wax, the guy. His end of the year's shit list is always fun to read. So, and he's true. I mean, he doesn't cover shit up. So I like it. Kind of excited to hear.
Like 5-6 times, like legitimately, he puts himself through that nonsense. I criticize an album just based on vibes, I don't know if I talked about this anecdote on my last episode, but I managed to start off a massive fight in a forum because I was saying Grot is a worse version of Holder. That was my Holder. That female black metal band. So I said that Grot is the worst version of Holder. Mind you, I've not heard one note of any of the 2 projects.
Mm-hmm.
And I made 3 hours of content on that. Why not? But he actually does it. To give him credit, he actually puts himself through like listening to 4 hours of, I don't know, Sidan or stuff like that, vintage memes. He does listen to it. He actually knows what he's talking about musically, so it's always interesting to get it.
Yeah, true. I wish he would do it on a regular basis, because he kind of does, but he ramps it up for the top 10 end of the year. But he could do if he wanted to, we could do a review. I guess he could do it all year. not just do the top 10 because they're that good. But if you have to do it every day, it's not fun anymore. So
That's
I guess.
being provocative and vitriolic and antagonistic. I mean, it gets old really fast. If you
True.
start backing it up with, I'm not saying this is the case at all. I'm actually talking about myself. I had such a long period of being provocative and everything because I felt it wouldn't have been honest. I mean, it's you become a caricature of yourself. So as much as you started off honestly, oh, I don't like Sidon. Oh, I don't like Spider God. Oh, okay, yeah, you can say that 10 times, man. But I mean, come on. It's like you can say that 10 times. Can you back it up with actual discussion? Can you go back and forth on it? Have you listened to it? And I feel it's interesting to see him do that once a year because I have a feeling I can't talk for his behalf, but man, doing it all the time, I feel you lose a bit of that credibility and that honesty in what you're doing.
True. If I couldn't do a review channel because I still don't think I do a review channel. I just show stuff and talk about, but I rarely give an opinion on a record or.
I don't see you as a review, and I think what you're doing is great. I mean, you have interviews, you talk about something you like. You're not saying, oh, track 1 went like this, track 2 went like this, and the overall feel compared to the. I think it's a lot more organic. I'm going to say organic 350 times during this conversation.
Yes, I love organic. We have tomatoes, organic tomatoes.
I have organic tomatoes, which is probably the most natural thing that I put in my body in the last year. But
oh, for fuck's sake!
It was. No, not drugs. Not drugs as you're thinking.
As for tomorrow, I'm going to a metal festival tomorrow, so
fun.
Shoot me now. Sorry?
Which one are you going to?
Graspop metal meeting.
Oh my god, man. I thought you were going to say something like, I'm going to Lurefest soon. Isn't that close to you?
Lurefest is, it's in Antwerp, and I'm probably going, I'm going to have the same time as I had at the Dungeons and Festival. Not a good time, but not a dark time. So yeah, I guess, but all in all, there was some of that stuff like something with a fern on the English festival, the
fern. Not fern. Flickers from the fern or
something like that. They played the Life After Death Crypt of the Wizard Fest, and that was actually good. So I guess I missed the international lure for the Dungeons and Festival, and maybe that will be on Lure Fest. But yeah, I'm going.
I went to see Made in England in Questmaster live. I'm not gonna pretend, I'm not gonna act all tough and hard, but that was pretty decent. But
okay.
But the thing with Lurefest is that it's I think it's good to have a dungeon synth thing. But hey, massive label, massive success, much respect to the guy. He's doing stuff, he's visibly doing stuff right,
Yeah.
But I on a personal level, I'm having a lot of trouble making those two things fit, like dungeon synth, then you go to a black metal band. How are you? What I've always found important in festivals is that you have to curate a sort of feel. You know what I mean? Sort of crescendo, a sort of feel, or at least a logic. And I'm seeing stuff where you've got a black metal band, and then you've got someone in a frog suit. Come on, man. What's happening? They have their own right to exist. But
are you talking about Live After Death or Lurefest?
Oh, Lurefest.
I don't think there will be too much black metal at Lurefest.
There's obviously one black metal band, and it's kind of obvious which one it is.
Is that a black metal band?
I actually know who the main event is, but I can't spoil it because I think the label head will hate. I think he already hates me now because I keep on dogging on certain bands that he has. The whole
You're
discussion.
Forgiving guy.
Guys, I think yes. If someone hates one of my releases, amen, brother. It's like you have the right to. But I don't know. I just think it's my vision. I feel like you have to curate something coherent.
But it's the last thing I've written down, and it's actually on the list. Because you are kind of making a differentiation between dungeon synth and black metal for the festival you propose, they are going hand in hand. It's not like you can think of one without the other, I guess, within a certain niche or line of black metal. But what's your opinion on Dungeon Synth?
Oh, I do not like Dungeon Synth at all. So unfortunately, I'm gonna try and be as diplomatic as I can on it because I just don't like it, and I think that I agree with you. I agree with you. It's going hand in hand with black metal, which I find absolutely ridiculous. Amen. I think if Dungeon Synth concentrated on moving into the ambient side of things, like a lot of projects are doing, for example, Maidenhair of England clearly is moving towards ambient. He's moving towards ambient. He wants to be identified as an experimental ambient project, like a dark ambient project. I think that's where I would like to see it go. I think this whole fashion of like the past couple of years, where yeah, it's intertwined. Dungeon Synth is intertwined with black metal, and I think it had a. I think it was back then with Mortis and Thangorodrim and Early Lamentation. I think it was a lot more honest than what we're probably talking about right now about the Dungeon Synth that's linked to black metal.
Yeah,
Because
sure.
you have a lot of friends in the scene, and I do know their craft is honest. But I have also a lot of people who I know play on the fact that it's linked to black metal. So a lot of the black metal customer base will purchase that album because it's linked to BM. I think it's a bit of Dungeon Synth is a bit of a cash grab. I feel like Dungeon Synth today is probably where black metal was at in the pandemic. If you go in on Dungeon Synth forums and sales, those go in 30 seconds. Like you take stuff from Gondolin Records, that stuff will drop. You have 50 tapes and they're gone in 1 minute.
Yeah, there was you could do pre-order at the table for Gondolin Records for the entire batch that would come out. Stuff like that. Yeah, it's
getting it.
Yeah, you're 100% right. It's one and the same.
I'm seeing the same stuff that used to irk me back with black metal. I'm seeing it today with. Let's not talk about comfy synth because that to me is the biggest psyop. It's the biggest psyop I've ever seen in music. To me, whoever made that palatable and purchasable on 25 euro vinyls, hey, chapeau. Congrats, my guy. I don't know what you're doing. I don't know how you did it, but I see people going absolutely buck wild for something that has a cupcake and a mouse on the cover. What are we doing in music, man? Come on. What are we doing? What is Tiny Mouse, man? What is Tiny Mouse? Why are you spending Tiny Mouse? It's 4 notes, man. Whatever.
Hey, funk is 3 notes.
Oh,
okay.
Mad respect. You are hoodwinking a whole scene.
Olive Branch time. Have you heard the French stuff on the label? The Midoram? Have you heard the Midoram on the?
No.
Okay.
Come on.
What? You fell away.
He was wearing a Lacoste tracksuit live.
It was incredible.
Was it?
Yeah.
Really? Okay, look, I'm going to trust you. Tell me how Midoran was. Because when I saw Lacoste, I'm like, I'm done.
It has nothing to do with the Lacoste thing. He was just wearing that. Look, they're 16-year-old guys who had their parents sign a note that they had to leave school to take the ferry to go to England to play because they were 16. And they played as kind of a headliner on I think the second day.
Yeah.
And everybody was, the mood of the festival was incredible. It was like Roadburn small back then, like 2012. Everybody got along. Everybody was the right amount of drunk, no hassle, no problems. And then to have 16-year-olds, it's not black metal. It is not comfy synth. It is not ambient. It is all of those things. And they just played a party set.
I went on the Phantom Lure site, and you know when you click on their products, you can listen to a snippet of it. And I was sitting through it. I'm like, for once, I'm actually not gonna say I don't like it. It's crap, just based on vibes. I just don't get it. but in a
Yeah.
normal way. I don't understand it because I was clicking through, and every time I click through and I move the bar forward, it was a different style of music.
There you go. It's how people are listening to music right now when you're 16, I guess. It's not just, I mean, they played reggae for crying out loud or marimba or whatever. They just,
What you're saying, man. You know what you're saying? You're saying people's attention span is completely shot to death.
of course, but
So your track has to have 10 different things to be interesting. People just go listen to power electronics, like for real. Like listen to power
we're
electronics.
looking to that shit.
It's
45 minutes of
oh my god, I don't.
I know what you're saying, but you have to see it in the context of, yeah, they're 16, they're bringing the party, and they can play. That's because when you skip through the record, which I did the first time too, you hear every different, but they can do that live, and they just melt black metal with.
They come like nice and smooth. They fair play, man. Fair.
There was no bad band there. Every band played. The sound was a great festival, but I think the Midoran guys, once again, the guy with the Lacoste, Fraxke, and the Buckethead, he was kind of the ringleader, I guess. I think he was the oldest guy, and he was the keyboardist and I guess vocals. And yeah, respect to that dude, man.
Circle of bands, right?
Yeah, it's not really clear to me, but they are they have like a Black Legion's kind of name, but it escapes me. They have a few demos on Ixial,
Cercle Doré or something. It has the word.
something like that.
Yeah, you know what, man? Sure, I guess. I'm
There you
probably
go.
not at the time of day, but if you tell me they managed to fluidly go through this and that, switch up styles, you know what? You definitely need a certain type of expertise in that. But
Yeah.
it's basically
Let's end.
ADHD music.
Yeah, let's end on this. I got the records at the festival. I played them once, but it didn't stuck. So live, I guess they're a live band for now. Live bands. You're
Yeah.
going to play live?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Where?
Take a note out of Bizarre Uproar's book, and I'm just gonna put a feedback loop and just stand in front of like this.
You shouldn't say that.
1 hour. 1 hour. Gas mat. No, I'm joking. No, yeah. I'm gonna play live at. Well, I mean, I can announce it on your episode. I've announced it like 10 times with 10 different. As I finally said. My festival. So I'll be doing the Black Occult Festival in February of 2025, and man, that was just to get the bands to accept, just to get the projects to get motivated to accept, and I feel like I finally got something in a box that we can do, and it's gonna be great fun, and it goes back to what I was saying about it being coherent, and if you don't mind me going off on just like a pretty quick tangent,
Go.
I feel that the festival circuit is a bit boring lately, at least the ones I've been to. It's just I want to create something that could be linked to performance art, basically, without going in the absolutely dumb extremes that they do. But my festival will be an organic, see the word again, will be an organic come up of many different projects. That's the thing. And it will
Yep.
move my live set, and I'll be doing my live set most likely with Aesthetic Cloth. So we'll be doing a double set live, which is going to be pretty exciting. She's been doing amazing work. She's been doing amazing releases, and we're trying to convince her to take the step of doing live. So definitely the opener is going to be a mixture of ambient, of noise, of power electronics. It's going to be a big mashup. And what's going to be super interesting is Ludwig's set, because Ludwig is from the old school of performance art, of extremist music, of he's what I call a complete artist. I think I'm going to exactly say what I said in the first episode. He does it all.
Yeah.
He paints, he spray paints, he does music, he does ambient, he does noise, he does gabber. And he's been showing me what he's going to do live, and I think people are going to be absolutely shocked. Since it's going to be in England, if people have the habit of seeing the last couple of festivals I've seen in England, which I found great quality wise, I found great. but lacking maybe a sense of urgency and danger that the power electronics
Yeah.
scene has. And I think Ludwig is gonna blow a lot of people's minds away when he does his set. And I can't even tell you what he's bringing because that would just spoil everything. But it's going to be legitimate performance art, and I'm super excited. It will bring that sense of people feeling uncomfortable and feeling a bit uneasy when listening to an art form, and I think that's something I really want to do. So that's gonna already trim the fat at the beginning because you're gonna have a noise set, you're gonna have a dark death industrial set, and then you're gonna have an experimental noise. Yeah, something literally out of the ASKE catalog, like the stuff he does with Scum, all that type of stuff. All that type of stuff. And then we will move, obviously, because hey, my guy, I do need to bring people. We're going to move into more known territory, to actual live bands, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. People that are going to come by are gonna see what I mean when I say I'm bored of the scene. It's going to be an exact expression of when I say I'm bored of the scene. Let's spice it up a little bit. You don't feel danger. And I'm not saying you have to go to a concert to feel uneasy. I'm not saying that. But look, the whole concept of power electronics and noise is that it has to create this reaction of repulsion, revulsion, danger, uneasiness. And I think it could be an introductory step to many people that maybe are not familiar with the scene. I think it'd be very interesting.
One of the questions on here, or one of the talking points, was power electronics. It's always fascinating to me, but it's hard to get into. I'm a record collector first, I guess, in that sense, because if I delve into it's the same way I stay out of jazz, for example. I don't go into power electronics because there is no end.
Loans out of a bank if you start collecting jazz, man.
I'll be living on strengths.
That's the wildest collection ever. I can't. I'm not even gonna try and understand the jazz collector market.
Yeah, no. What's like it's impossible. But if you have to give a power electronics top 3 introduction,
got it here.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I didn't know if you prepared.
Yeah, I got it here. Well, actually, one's neo-folk, so I'm not gonna say that. But a very easy first step is always this is the easiest first step for everyone. Genocide, especially the later stuff, is what I call, and not negatively, I call this beginner power electronics, because I think the soundscapes are very dark ambient, so very easy to get into, and you'll have experimentation, modulations, and feedback over them, which bring it much closer to an ambient release. So people that want to dip their foot, you can't go wrong with Genocide Organ. That's just like the absolute best first. If you
to ask a noob question, what's the biggest difference between power electronics and noise? Is power electronics more beat driven or rhythm driven?
Power electronics has a very corpus ambient aspect to it. It has to have. I'm gonna try and dumb it down as much as possible, because honestly, I don't even think power electronics artists will be able to give you an exact reaction.
Yeah, of course.
It's always, both are improvisation. So there's not like, oh, play track 3 of this album. Oh, play track 4 of that album. It's what brought me to the scene. What I find fascinating is that it's driven by theme. It's very driven by theme. And power electronics is going to be even more driven by theme than, for example, noise. Noise can legitimately just be harsh noise walls, frequencies, feedback, and stuff like that. The Japanese scene is.
Would you agree that noise has no aesthetic in a sense? Because there is a power electronics aesthetic, the more industrial or the more brute architecture, that kind of stuff. Maybe some violence, maybe some horror. But I don't. If I have to think of an iconic noise cover, I can't.
What about the stuff by Merzbow?
Merzbow, yeah, of course. The car, yeah, there is stuff, but.
Pulse Demon is a pretty recognizable cover, and it's amazing because it's like the blandest cover ever.
Yeah, but Merzbow is like not the pinnacle of noise, maybe, but he is on the top. So
I'm taking like the easiest one to recognize. I think
you're taking Dark Side of the Moon.
Your question is difficult because as much as
Mhm.
it's noise is so old. Let's put it this way, because noise comes
It's the
from
first music, I guess.
past movements like the musique concrète of the '60s and stuff like that, where people were just living. Oh well, there you go. If you want a nice distinction, noise has its bases in musique concrète, which
Yeah.
was people trying to isolate uh, unknown and difficult sounds on record form.
Mhm.
Uh, and I think noise builds on that. And actually, Masami Akita from Merzbow takes he said he takes his base from these albums of the '60s, and one that not many people might realize, but it's Lou Reed made a noise album.
Yeah. Metal
The,
machine music.
there you go. That is the start of the Japanese noise scene. If you take it from Masami Akita's words, it is
Okay.
start. It's his most influential album. It's what made him decide to release 50 albums in a week. So, you know,
Last time
no,
I saw Lou Reed, he played that album.
he did. I'd love to see that live. It's fascinating. It's just out of a historical concept. I mean, I want to see
Yeah.
where more. But you have to like not forget that I'm not the biggest fan of noise.
No.
I some of it, but I think it's so vast that I can circle back to your question. It's like I don't think it can have a definite aesthetic.
No.
It's very difficult because you have the most diverse movements in it, whether ideological, whether political, whether artistical. You want to say it's Dadaistic? Yeah. So
Mhm.
Dadaism, but it's a movement based on fluidity and complete chaos.
Flip it and go to power electronics. They do have a certain visual. Where's the roots for that? It's not.
So
Where does it come from? It's once again the sunny side and the let's call noise the sunny side, which is saying a lot, and power electronics the dark side of that part of electronic music.
I agree with you.
So do the roots come from the same things as black metal? I guess somewhere.
No, they don't have the same base at all. Power electronic predates black metal by quite a bit because if you take the first project, I think you could pinpoint them to Ramley and White House,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
those are I think I don't want to say something stupid. I'm still new, so I'm learning bit by bit like back
Yeah.
in the
Of course. I'm new, so
I think we're talking about mid '70s,
okay.
early mid '70s. I think if I'm not mistaken, White House was towards the later end of the '70s,
Yeah.
and I think unlike noise, and this is once again, let's make it clear, I'm no historian or expert, but from what I've seen from what I've heard, experienced in the music, noise can legitimately be pure experimentation. It can have no subject, which I think has its own idea, which I respect. Power
True.
electronics is, and I think where I agree with you on the darker side of the noise spectrum, which is true because legitimate power electronic artists do not want to even hear the word black metal. They probably hate black metal more than I do.
True.
Um, Power electronics is on theme, and I think the themes that they touch upon are the ones that no one wants to touch upon. So that automatically encapsulates you on a theme-driven experimentation. How do I
Mhm.
put these repulsive concepts? How can I put this theme into sonic form? The only tip I can give to people when they want to dip into power electronics is don't listen to it as if you were listening to music.
Mhm.
Don't listening track by track. You really have to look at it as if more as if you were looking at a painting, trying to analyze a painting, maybe watching an experimental movie. Um, you have to come at it not as if you were listening to music, which is probably why I know the majority of people have a lot of difficulty. So
Yeah. Okay.
at it from an artistic standpoint that you're interested in the thematics of it, the guttural, the repulsive feel that it can bring to you, because I'm pretty sure you know a lot of the topics that they talk about are extremely difficult.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
people
Sure.
buy an SBM, power electronics just wipes the rug. An SBM is baby, and I think it's to answer your question, to close it all up, it's like I think you have to come at paraelectronics as I want to make you feel this topic. I want to make you feel this theme. Noisy, I want to put my brute emotions, myself, and experiment with the wildest form of things.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you cannot have a paraelectronics album that is not based on theme. That to me is an absolute. That's what I think.
Yeah, it's a world to dive into because it's what date is the genocide organ?
Genocide organ is 80s, is early 80s.
80s.
I
What are
think
the two?
Control is in the 80s.
What to round off this this part? What are the other two you had? No.
So the other one as well, it's the T-shirt I'm wearing, which is my personal favorite project, which is Brighter
Okay.
Death, and I think it's one of the least discographies with the least amount of missteps, you could say.
Okay.
If you're tolerant to the medium, obviously, it's to me the best expression of old school paraelectronics. This I would consider
Okay.
this the pinnacle. So this one is the With Promises of Death. So if anyone wants to start with Brighter Death now, this is an amazing.
Okay.
I saw them live in Milan. It was what an experience, man. Oh, man. That was amazing.
What a scene.
It got people got syringes thrown at them in the concert. So it's that type.
Often. Do you find danger still there at concerts?
Oh man, yeah. There's this project from the Finnish scene. Obviously, Finland has the wildest projects. Obviously, I mean, I have an edition of Bizarre Uproar, this tape, where when I opened it, I had put it on my Instagram stories. I opened it and I openly gagged. I had a throw up reflex because he had this in a pouchy. He had this vomited up crucifix. So it's private edition. There's this project which I'm not going to name on the because it probably immediately raises red flags. So imagine this. Imagine you've grown up in a scene where the concerts are normal, and that's a perfectly fine thing. It should be like that. You dip your feet into paraelectronics. You go to this concert where it's in a basement with 10 people, and the guy during his set shoots up heroin, his veins up, starts throwing his blood on the crowd, and then cocks up an actual loaded gun. So you see when people say black metal is dangerous, I get it. Yeah,
But not as dangerous.
And this is by no means, it's like, oh, I'm a lot cooler than you because I shoot up heroin in front of people and I shoot people. Because I think he ended up in jail for it, obviously. He's going around. And yeah, so let's say a more commercialized version of that danger is something very, very interesting. So yeah, to answer your question, there's definitely danger in the power electronics. Absolutely.
I once did the lights for ASKE Festival from Dennis Typhus. I don't know if you know that guy. He's a Belgian punk noise dude. He has ultra eczema, and he always had this noise fest in the, I guess, mid 2000s. I don't know when it was. And there was this guy, I'm blanking on his name, but he had a scrapbook filled with. It's it's ridiculous, but he had a scrapbook filled with teenage girls, and he just was naked with a long jacket, like the pedo with the glasses, and he just pleasured himself. And the only thing I didn't know the guy, so the only thing I had to go on, he wanted to have Guns N' Roses on the stage, so every light possible.
That's like one of the why does the scene get so much difficulty and hate? It's like the main thematic of power electronics is usually pedophilia. You know that? What's the guy? Called Miko Aspa, right?
Yeah.
He's got a side project, like a power electronics side project. I hope I'm not grossly mistaken, but I think it's Miko Aspa. He's got a side project, noise side project called Nicole 12.
Okay, I don't know that one.
You can already imagine from the name what the thematics are. Go check Discogs, the covers and everything. And yeah, so he was asked about it. He was asked about why this imagery, why these themes, like what brings, why would you want to do that? And he, he says because what will repulse you to the deepest level? What will
Yeah,
what
there you go.
level of unease? So it kind of brings me to what you probably experienced, which is somewhat of the school of it's always the Finns as well, man. It's always the Finns. I get encrusted crucifixes in my tape box, right?
Have you seen, speaking about the finish, have you got the new or the last new era zine? Have you seen the Satanic War Master commercial in that, or the
Yeah,
page for Satanic?
Werewolf Records one with
Yeah.
the transvestites and everything. Yeah, yeah, I did see that. I didn't
That
want
didn't
to
show up too much.
see it. I think there was this online forum. They went absolutely buck wild about it.
Yeah,
Since
I can imagine.
started selling all their Satanic War Master vinyls, and I was like, dude, it's like he's been doing that type of stuff forever.
Yeah,
Remember
yeah, sure.
that double box set of the True Werewolf? I mean, he's been doing noise in parallel times for a while. He's
Yeah.
pretty respected in the scene. But then you got Jimmy from Texas who loves the Karelian Satanist madness. And he's like, oh, what am I going to do now? I'm going to sell my Satanic War Master vinyls. I just think people need a bit more, maybe deep dive into the background of the labels and the bands that you like. It's always helpful.
Then you find the good stuff.
Media.
All right, we are hitting the hour mark, and I know I have to rein it in because we have a few more things to talk about, and we will be here for. I think the last one was an hour, maybe 2 hours, and then we talked for another hour. So let's see. We kind of went through the label. I was going to talk about US black metal because you proclamated your hate for it, but it seems in the conversation we kind of wrapped that up, and because Blood and Crescent was mentioned, which a year ago I was kind of surprised that it was that we already knew about them. It seems like closer. I don't know.
Those were the early Gauntlet Ring releases, right? Like when Gauntlet Ring.
Yeah, I think so. I think 2020 is the earliest shit. Yeah.
Very, very.
So I don't see the need to reclaim or to recap that.
With Dark Tapes and Wax, if I start going off on USBM again, it's going to be a repetition. I think people are wildly aware of my opinion of USBM. So.
Okay. So let's talk about your hate for French metal.
Hate for French metal?
We'll get there. I want to, when we hit the hour mark, I always do my my top 5. I asked 5 releases in the last video. I've asked 5 releases that made up the label. Now I sent you 5 releases that make up your taste, not label related, but more like gold from the collection. Did you pluck anything out, or?
I didn't take anything, but I can talk about them. But is that black metal you're saying, right?
I guess maybe somebody is expecting some black metal.
No, this is like not even a meme anymore. I've been listening to so little black metal that what can I take out that developed my taste? That's a very, very, very difficult question, like legitimately, because I took such a massive break that the last release I listened to was probably Sunhopfer.
Okay.
That to me is, I mean, it's gonna sound void because I've only basically listened to that, but that was album of the year contender to me.
Okay, but that was 2 years ago.
Yeah. So imagine that. It's a Sunhopfer release.
I was actually talking about collection, but you don't have records, so it's not. You don't. I was talking about the collection, but you don't have records pulled out, so it's hard to talk about that kind of thing.
Pulled out, but it's not black metal, unfortunately. So yeah, I didn't think that one.
We'll save it for part 3.
Yeah. And I wouldn't even feel comfortable because I'd be going into my albums and looking for grails, and
yeah,
it would be the same 5 I always take out. So I probably need to dive into my taste making.
2 things fell true.
It came back.
Okay. We'll circle around to it. Two things fell through that, and then I was going to play the last 5 of my Bandcamp that I liked for you to get an honest opinion, but that kind of felt true. We need to fix that for next time.
If I save myself or if I'm missing some gems, you know.
No, definitely. Yeah, I don't know, maybe. Yeah, where to go? The last thing I had is the we both got the Osculum Infame box set from Medieval Prophecy Records. I just released a video about it. Do you have anything original by them? Not to show, but
The Osculum Infame, no, I actually don't have anything original about it. That's why I was extremely excited. Because I think that one of the oldest tapes I had from them was actually a bootleg.
Yeah.
That surprised. Osculum Infame, I was extremely excited about that release because it finally puts it out there for people to see what. Since I've been banging on about French black metal from the start of the page, I think that's an amazing starting point for a lot of people if they want to get into. I saw you even got the test press edition, which I really want, but I was doing something else, doing drop day, and I would have taken the test press. It's the respect I have for the scene and that music is absolutely wild.
Yeah, I think I heard the term royalties fell somewhere, so I think a lot of test presses and a lot of stuff went to the bands, as it should in this case. Yeah, it's an incredible box set. I don't know how far we want to go into it. I talked about the bands in the other video, but I don't know how to organically round this talk off. But
people, if you like black metal, just listen to French black metal, and you'll be more than fine with everything. I know you're big into the Belgian stuff as well, which I haven't really listened to. But yeah, I don't know. Up to you, man. I mean, I think I'm super happy. I got a couple of points across that I wanted to get. You know, with the whole whole festival thing, with the label. I think that was a lot of fun. And yeah, it's to leave it. I mean, it's a bit melancholic of a note, but I'm still in that phase where I'm a bit out of love. I still have this old nostalgia for the not for the music. I have this old nostalgia for the love I had of the music.
Yeah,
and
okay, that's nice.
I think that's an ending point I could put out, that I have to try and develop my taste again in black metal, because
True.
a lot of disappointment, a lot of just not managing to get into. And you know, sometimes it happens. Sometimes you fall out of love with the music, back to it. And maybe this Osculum Infame box set will slowly bring me back, because it's always the French bands that I'll put an album on, I'll put a Seigneur Volant album on, I'll put a Sombre Chemin album on, I'll be like, oh, okay, this is why I love black metal. You know, this is black metal, and it will come back. So it's a bit of a nostalgic feeling for me, but it will be that.
Yeah, it's one of the territories that truly matters in being a building block of what has become of what is the best generation of black metal, I think. To round off, you are doing a festival in England. I'm very jealous that you are going to Rune Boy. Rune Boy. We talked about ASKE and Hodge & Pit a bit before, and let's end on that, because we both love, or we seem to have developed a love for those guys and that label. We didn't meet them in Italy, but
was there, but I didn't know him yet. So
okay.
Someone was there, but I didn't know him yet. So we were laughing about it the other day, talking about it. It's like we were there, we didn't know each other, we could have met up already. You know?
I just met him at that weekend, but what they have done since then is one of the most incredible things I've witnessed in music in the last 10 years.
I agree.
That's a bit hyperbolic, but
no, I agree. 100%. 100%.
I mean, the stellar rise in all bands. I mean, there's less tapes, but there's no crap. There's absolutely no crap. And now with the Rune Boy stuff, it's incredible.
No, it circles back to what I was telling you about, that excitement and that danger that you want to kind of feel. Like, you have some projects in there that slap you across the face, like the Evil Colony thing, which I'm releasing releasing a compendium of under Black Occult, thanks to Hutch and Pitt collaborating with me. That evil colony just completely embraced and knocked me out, and I'm like, wow, okay, what, wow, you know. And I think there's so much like diversity in what they're doing, and it's exciting and it's fresh. So I don't actually think you're being hyperbolic by saying it's one of the most exciting things that's happened, because labels have become so stale. So stale. A lot of the labels have empty shells, just the same coherent banging point I always do. It's like, you are just a logo and an eBay selling page at one point. You're always tinkering on that if you don't be careful. And I'm not gonna name names, but there's like a couple, which is why I had this hate for the UK scene before. There's labels and these projects which people gave credibility to, which had no heart, had just facade, had just masks, and pretended to be into it. And time catches up with you if you're not honest in what you're doing. These labels have become stale, become boring, and I think that Hutch and Pitt and ASKE by themselves reignited a lot of respect that I had from that scene, and just so much stuff, the noise, the gabber, the black metal, the whatever you want to categorize Rune Boy with, because that CDR has experimentation on it. The tape has an outright oi song, and then it moves into something that honestly reminded me of Revolution Number 9 from the Beatles on the White Album. Just complete and pure experimentation, just thrown on side B. It's so exciting. Some stuff. It's see, this is what motivates me. ASKE and Hutch and Pitt are motivating. Everything that was back around when we talked last time, it was so disappointing. It's just boring stuff, just completely boring stuff. They're not boring. They're the opposite of boring, and I'm super happy to work with Hutch and Pitt on the Colony release.
True. I think we are through a wave of black metal let's call them black metal tourists that are died out, and I think there is a new, I don't know, I guess what we talked about to round off, the thing we talked about last time was the more internet or the social media side of black metal, and I think that part has come to an end. I don't see it.
Done with that. I think we're done with those bands, with those labels, with a lot of that.
Yeah.
So, we're not risking seeing Phantom Spire vinyls going for $100. Thank God for that. There was zero honesty in. So I don't want to do a sweeping generalization. I think what's coming up in the scene, like the fans, and if you're young and getting into this scene, the ecosystem for it is a lot healthier and a lot more motivating than the ecosystem of absolutely mind-bogglingly mediocre stuff that was that birthed anywhere from 2016 to now dying out. I'd say 17, 18 maybe, and because it was an ecosystem on boredom. It was an ecosystem based on boredom, and I think now it's not. Now it's not. Now it's exciting. You're in this scene because you want to be in this scene, not because you've got nothing else to do and you're bored. So you're gonna go through Bandcamp and listen to 150 of the same bands. And we all know what bands we're talking about, and they're slowly dying out. I'm just waiting for a couple to die out. That expression of sitting by the river, just waiting for the corpse to come by. And I think there's a big cleanse in the scene, and I think it's good. I think it's healthy.
True. That's a positive note, I guess.
I made it a point on the last episode. It's like, look, I need to live through something positive in black metal to excite me again. And I think, I don't want to come off as I don't actually care, but I'm always going to back ASKE and Hutch and Pitt with what they're doing, because as soon as I see this honesty behind the projects that they're doing, it makes you want to support them,
True.
I've had a couple of people say that about my label, and I don't see any better motivation. Oh, I like what you're doing because you're honest. Great, man. It's great.
It's a great pair up, you and Ash. It's a great release to solidify that relationship, and then I hope you will be my eyes on the ground for
get that one, man. We at least get that one.
From him because you're sold out.
I've got my safety copies. Don't worry.
I'll get it. Swear to God.
I'll send
Good,
that.
Francesco. Thank
Yeah.
you very much. Ciao, 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 ciao. Talk soon.